So solving for this Laffer curve means finding T star, the tax rate that maximizes tax revenue. And the way you go about it is pretty much a three-step process, and then the fourth one tells you what that maximum tax revenue will be, or the minimum cost if you're looking at a minimum issue. So we have that total revenue equals 40 times the tax rate minus 80 times the tax rate squared. The first step is to find the slope. How does tax revenue move with the tax rate? Notice you have two parts here, so we'll be working in two parts. The second step is, remember, we want to find where that slope is equal to 0, where the curve changes direction from going up to down or from down to up. You set that equal to 0, and then you solve for what is in the denominator of your slope description. That will give you T star. When you have T star, you plug that into the original equation, what is tax revenue equal to, and that will give you the maximum possible tax revenue. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. So we have that tax revenue equals 40 times the tax rate minus 80 times the tax rate squared. Remember, we have to do this in two parts. dy dx equals, let's see, remember that's a 1 up there, so it's 1 times 40 minus, don't forget that, take the 2 down, 2 times 80 t 2 to the minus 1. And you say, well, what happened to the t in this first case? Well, what I did with the t, this part right here, is remember that t to the 1 minus 1 is equal to t to the 0, which is equal to 1. So it's actually just disappeared. So that this t didn't show up down here, I got rid of it. Now we're going to go ahead and simplify that. That's 40 minus 160. T to the 2 minus 1 is just t to the 1. And so there we have the slope. How does tax revenue move with the tax rate? If we set this equal to 0, which is the next step, let's see, 40 equals 160t. 40 over 160 equals t, or 0.25 equals t star. So 0.25, or a 25% tax rate, is what's going to give us the maximum possible tax revenue. What is that maximum tax revenue? Well, that's going to be 40 times 0.25 minus 80 times 0.25 squared, and that's going to equal, oops, TR star, got to make sure we identify what we're doing, and that is going to equal to 5. So the maximum tax revenue is equal to $5, and it comes at a tax rate of 25%. That's the solution. So in looking at the curve that we drew up before, this is tax rate and this is tax revenue. The curve looks something like this. This is 0, this is 0.5, this is 0.25, and this is 5. And that tells us if the tax rate is less than 0.25, if we're currently down in this range here, raising the tax rate will increase tax revenue. But if we're in this region here between 0.25 and a 50% tax rate, then lowering the tax rate will increase tax revenue. So both of the original people are correct, but it depends very much on where we are, and that means you have to know where we are and the shape of the curve.